the 23rd of April, 1899, Volume 2. The Praises and Scorns of Others. Today I did my meditation on the harm that can come to our souls from the praises that other creatures give us. While I was doing the application to myself to see whether there was complacency for human praises within me, Jesus came close to me and told me, when a heart is full of the knowledge of self, the praises of men are like sea waves that rise and overflow but never go out of their boundary. In the same way, human praises yell and shout, they clamour, they get close even to the heart, but in finding it full and well surrounded by the strong walls of the knowledge of self, unable to find a place for themselves, they draw back, causing no damage to the soul. So this is what you must be careful about, taking the praises and scorns of creatures into no account. End of the reading. The 23rd of April, 1900, Volume 3, Resignation is Oil That Salves. This morning, finding myself outside of myself, I saw my sweet Jesus suffering very much, and I prayed him to share his pains with me, and he said to me, you too suffer. Rather, I will take your place, and you'll do for me the office of a nurse. So it seemed that Jesus placed himself in my bed, and I beside him began to check his head, removing the thorns which were driven into it one by one. Then I moved on to his body, and I visited all his wounds. I dried up all the blood. I kissed them, but I had nothing with which to salve them so as to mitigate the spasm. When I saw that oil was coming out from me, I took it and I salved the wounds of Jesus, but with some concern as I did not understand what the meaning was of that oil coming out from me. But blessed Jesus made me understand that resignation to the divine will is oil which, while salving, mitigating our pains, salves and mitigates the spasm of the wounds of Jesus at the same time. Then, after performing this office for my dear Jesus for quite some time, he disappeared and I came back into myself. End of the reading. The 23rd of April, 1912, Volume 11. The love with which Jesus loves us exists in each thing, inside and outside of ourselves, and he wants perfect return. In order to oblige us more, he reaches the extent of permitting guilt. Finding myself in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for a little while and told me, my daughter, sometimes I allow the guilt in the soul who loves me in order to squeeze her more tightly to me and to oblige her to do greater things for my glory. In fact, the more I give to her, permitting even guilt in order to endear her more to me for her miseries, to love her more and to fill her with my charisms, the more I push her to do great things for me. These are the excesses of my love. My daughter, my love for the creature is great. Do you see how the light of the sun invades you? If you could make many atoms out of that light, in those atoms of light, you would feel my melodious voice and, one after the other, they would repeat to you, I love you, I love you, I love you, in such a way that you would not have the time to count them. You would remain drowned inside love. I say to you, I love you in the light that fills your eyes. I love you in the air you breathe. I love you in the whistling of the wind which touches your hearing. I love you in the warmth and in the cold felt by your touch. I love you in the blood that flows inside your veins. I love you in the beating of your heart which tells you of my beats. I repeat to you, I love you in every thought in your mind. I love you in each action of your hands. I love you in every step of your foot. I love you in every word, since nothing happens inside or outside of you without an act of my love toward you. One I love you from me doesn't wait for another. And your I love you How many of them are for me? I remained confused. I felt deafened inside and out, full chorus by the I love yous of Jesus, while my I love yous was scarce and so limited that I said, "Oh, my lover, Jesus, who could ever match you?" But of what I said, it seems that I've said nothing of all that Jesus made me understand. Then he added, the divine will, true sanctity, is in doing my will and in reordering all things as for in me. Just as I keep all in order for the creature, in the same way the creature should order all things for me and in me. My will keeps everything in order. End of the reading. The 23rd of April 1916, Volume 11. Every thought on the Passion of Jesus is a light drawn from his most holy humanity in order to be like him. Continuing in my usual state, my adorable Jesus made himself seen all surrounded with light, which came out from his most holy humanity, and which embellished him in such a way as to form an enchanting and enrapturing sight. I remained surprised, and he told me, my daughter, each pain that I suffered, every drop of my blood, every wound, prayer, word, action, step, etc., produced a light within my humanity to embellish me in such a way as to keep all the blessed enraptured. Now, for every thought that the creature has about my passion, for every act of compassion, reparation, etc., she does nothing other than draw light from my humanity and be embellished to my likeness. Therefore, every additional thought about my passion will be an additional light which will bring her eternal joy. End of the reading. The 23rd of April 1921, Volume 12. The love of God will triumph over all the evils of creatures. God will look at the acts of creatures through the acts of the soul done in the divine will. I'm going through most bitter days. My always lovable Jesus has almost eclipsed himself. What pain, what torment. I just feel my mind beyond the spheres in his will, wanting to take this holy volition, bring it below the spheres into the midst of men, and give it to each one of them as their own life. My mind struggles between the divine will and the human will of all in order to make them one. Now, as I was at the summit of my bitterness, my sweet Jesus just barely moved in my interior, and putting out his hands, he took my hands in his and told me in my interior, my daughter, courage, I will come, I will come. You occupy yourself with nothing else but my volition. Let us leave the earth aside. They will get tired in evil. They will keep sowing terror, fright, and slaughters everywhere. But the end will come. My love will triumph over all of their evils. Therefore, lay your will within mine, and with your acts, you will come to extend a second heaven over the heads of all. And I will look at the acts of the creatures through your divine acts, divine because they all start from my will. And you will force my eternal volition to descend below the spheres, so as to triumph over the evil of the human will. Therefore, if you want my will to descend and my love to triumph, you must ascend beyond the spheres, dwell up there, and extend your acts in my will. Then we will descend together. We will assail the creatures with my volition, with my love. We will confuse them in such a way that they will not be able to resist us. Therefore, for now, let us allow them to do what they want. Live in my will and have patience. End of the reading. The 23rd of April, 1924, Volume 16. The state of profound sleep of Louisa continues. Together with Jesus, she suffers the crushing weight of the world. It is not the devil who is throwing her into this state, but Jesus. What Jesus infuses and what the devil infuses. I spend my days in bitterness and among the privations of my sweet Jesus, with the addition of a profound sleep, such that I myself do not know where I am or what I do. I feel the shadow of my Jesus around me, which almost puts me into an iron shirt, which renders me motionless. It takes life away from me and dazes me, and I no longer understand anything. What a painful change in my interior. I, who did not know what sleep was, and even if a light sleep surprised me, even while sleeping, did not lose the activity of my interior. I was aware of the fibers of my heart and of my thoughts in order to give them back to Jesus, who so much loved me, to accompany him in all the hours and pains of his passion. Or I wondered within the immensity of his will, to give him back everything and the acts which he wanted from all creatures. And now everything is over. Ah, Jesus, what bitter pains, what a sorrowful sea you want my poor soul to navigate. Oh, please give me your strength. Do not leave me. Do not abandon me. Remember that you yourself said that I am little, or rather the littlest of all, just newborn. And if you leave me, if you do not help me, if you no longer give me strength, the newborn will certainly die. Now, while I was in this state, I thought to myself, who knows whether it is the devil to form this shadow and to put me in this state of immobility. But as I was thinking this, I felt crushed more than ever under an enormous weight. My adorable Jesus, moving in my interior, showed himself, placing the edge of a wheel upon me, which he was carrying, and afflicted said to me, my daughter, patience, this is the weight of the world which crushes us. Yet one single edge leaning on you serves me in order not to put an end to the whole world. If you knew how many deceits, how many frauds, how many evils they commit, and how many hidden machinations of ruin the creatures are plotting to be ruined more among themselves, which increase even more the weight upon my shoulders to the point of making divine justice overflow. This is why there will be great evils through the whole earth. And then why do you fear that it might be the enemy to put you in this state? When the enemy makes one suffer, he throws desperation, impatience, disturbances. On the other hand, when it is me, I infuse love, patience, and peace, light and truth. Do you perhaps feel impatient, desperate, and that you fear that it might be the enemy? And I know, my Jesus, on the contrary, I feel as though plunged into an immense and deep sea, your will. And my only fear is that I might get out of the abyss of this sea. But while I feel its waves rising higher upon me, such as to make me sink even more. And Jesus, and this is why the enemy cannot approach you, because the waves of the sea of my will, while plunging you into the abyss of it, keep on guard and keep far away even the shadow of the enemy. In fact, he knows nothing of all that the soul does and suffers in my will, nor does he have the means, the ways, and the doors to be able to enter into it. On the contrary, it is the thing which he abhors the most. And if sometimes my wisdom manifests something of what the soul does in my will, the enemy feels such rage as to feel his infernal pains being multiplied, because my will, loved and fulfilled in the soul, forms paradise, while not loved and not fulfilled, it forms hell. Therefore, if you want to be safe from any diabolical snare, take to heart my will and your living continuously in it. End of the reading. The 23rd of April, 1925, Volume 17. Every act the soul does in the will of God is a kiss that she gives and receives from all heaven, and is the continuous breath of God upon her. I was fusing myself in the holy divine will according to my usual way, and my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, Come into the immensity of my will. All heaven and all things created by me, which live and receive continuous life from my will, in which they find their complete glory, their full happiness, and their perfect beauty, anxiously await the kiss of the pilgrim soul who lives in the same will in which they live, to give her their kiss in return, and to place in common with her the glory, the happiness, the beauty which they possess, so that their number may be increased by another creature who would render me complete glory, for as much as it is possible to a creature, and who would make me look at the earth with the love with which I created it, since on earth there is a creature who operates and lives in my will. Since heaven knows that nothing glorifies me as much as a soul who lives in my will, they too long for my will to live in the souls upon earth. Therefore every act the creature does in my will is a kiss that she gives and receives from the one who created her and from all the blessed. But do you know what this kiss is? It is the transformation of the soul with her Creator. It is the possession of God within the soul and of the soul in God. It is the growth of the divine life in the soul. It is the accord of the whole of heaven, and it is the right of supremacy over all created things. The soul, purged by my will through the omnipotent breath which we, her God, infused in her, no longer produces the nausea of the human will. And so God continues to breathe upon her with his omnipotent breath, so that she may grow with that will with which he created her. On the other hand, the soul who has not yet been purged feels the attraction of her own will, and so she acts against the will of God, doing her own. God cannot approach her to breathe on her again, feeling repugnance, until the soul gives all of herself to the exercise and the fulfillment of the divine will. Therefore, you must know that in creating man, God infused life in him with his breath, and in this life he infused in him an intelligence, a memory, and a will, to place them in relation with his divine will. This divine will was to be like a king. It was to dominate all of the interior of the creature and to give life to all in such a way as to form the intelligence and the memory wanted by the supreme will in her. Once this was formed, it was as though natural for the eye of the creature to look at created things and to know their order and the will of God over the whole universe. The hearing was to hear the prodigies of this eternal will. The mouth, which was to feel the continuous breath of its Creator, communicating to it the life and the goods contained in his will, was to echo that eternal fiat with its word, to narrate what will of God means. The hands were to be the expression of the works of this supreme will. The feet were to do nothing but follow, step by step, the steps of their Creator. So once the divine will is established in the will of the creature, she has the eyes, the hearing, the mouth, the hands, the feet of my will. She never departs from the origin from which she came, and so she remains always in my arms, and it is easy for her to feel my breath, and for me to breathe upon her. Now this is exactly what I want from the creature, that she let my will reign in hers, and that her will serve as the dwelling of my will, so that the divine will may place in her the celestial goods it contains. This is what I want from you, so that all your acts, sealed by my will, may form one single act, and uniting to the single act of my will, which has no multiplicity or mutation of acts, as it happens in man, your acts may remain in that eternal origin, in order to copy your Creator within you, and to give him the glory and the contentment that his will be done in you as it is in heaven. End of the reading. The 23rd of April 1930, volume 28. In creating man, God did not detach him from himself, condition of necessity to love him, Final assault, the great gift of the divine will, order that God had in creating man. It seems to me that my sweet Jesus wants to speak about the overflowing love with which man was created. He wants to tell its story as the outpouring of his intense love, so as to be compassionated by his little daughter and tell her the reason why he loves us so much and his right to be loved. So while I was going around in the acts of his divine will and I arrived at Eden, he resumed his speaking, saying, "Daughter of my divine will, I want to make known to you all the peculiarities with which man was created, to make you comprehend the excess of our love and the right of our fiat to reign in him. You must know that in the creation of man, our divine being found itself in the condition of necessity of love to love him, because everything we gave him did not remain as detached from us, but transfused in us. This is so true that in breathing on him, we infused life in him, but did not detach our breath from the breath created in him, but we kept it identified with our own, in such a way that as man breathed, we felt and feel his breath within our own. If our fiat created the word by pronouncing itself on his lips, the word, great gift given to him from within our divine volition, did not remain as detached. If we created in him love, motion, step, this love remained bound to our love, to our motion, and the communicative virtue of our steps in his steps. So we felt man inside of us, not outside of us, not the sun far away, but close to us, even more identified with us. How not to love him, since he was our own, and his life was in the continuation of our acts? Not loving him would be like going against the nature of our love. And besides, who does not love what is one's own and what has been formed by him? Therefore, our supreme being found itself, and still is, in the condition of necessity to love him, because man is still the one created by us. His breath we feel within our own. His word is the echo of our fiat. All of our gifts we have not withdrawn. We are the immutable being, nor are we subject to changing. We loved him and love him, and this love of ours is so great that we ourselves placed ourselves in the condition of necessity to love him. And this is the reason for our many stratagems of love and the final assault, as we want to give him the great gift of our fiat, that he may let it reign in his soul. In fact, without our will, man feels the effects of its life, but does not see the cause, and therefore he does not care about loving us. But our divine will make him feel who it is that gives him life, and then he too will feel the necessity to love he who is primary cause of all his acts and who loves him so much. Then I continued my round in the creation, and my always lovable Jesus added, "My daughter, see what order there is in the creation of the whole universe. There are heavens, stars, suns, all ordered. Much more so in creating man. Our divine being stretched out the order of our divine qualities like many heavens in the depth of his soul. So we stretched out in him the heaven of love, the heaven of our goodness, the heaven of our sanctity, of our beauty, and so on. And after we stretched out the order of the heavens of our divine qualities, our fiat, in the vault of these heavens, constituted itself sun of the soul, that with its light and heat, reflecting itself in him, was to grow and preserve our divine life in the creature. And just as our divine qualities point out our supreme being, so do these heavens, stretched out in man, point out that he is our dwelling. Who can tell you the way, the love with which we delighted in creating man? Oh, if he knew who he is, what he possesses, oh, how he would esteem himself more, and would be attentive not to stain his soul, and would love he who created him with so much love and grace. End of the reading. The 23rd of April, 1932, volume 30. How the creature is called by the divine will. However many times she does her acts in it, so many times it is reborn in her acts. Contest between creator and creature. My abandonment in the divine fiat continues. I feel its call in all its acts, that is, in the sky, in the sun, in the sea, in the wind, in the acts that it did, in the redemption, because there is nothing that exists that did not come forth from the divine volition. And it calls me in order to tell me, I have done everything for you. Come to enjoy and possess everything that with so much love I have created for you. Do not make yourself estranged from all that belongs to you, nor render our and your possessions isolated and deserted. Come and make your voice echo, so that resounding in all our created things, you make us feel the sweet treading of your steps. If the solitude happens to us, your company places us in feast and gives us the sweet surprises of the joys that our beloved creature can give us. But while my mind went around in its works, my always lovable Jesus, visiting my poor soul, all tenderness told me, blessed daughter of my volition, since all created things were made for the creatures, my divine will remained in each one of them to call the creature, because it did not want to remain alone, but it wanted her for whom things were made, in order to give her the rights over them, and so not remain defrauded in its purpose for which it had created her. Now, who hears this call? One who possesses my will as life. The echo of my will that is in created things forms the same echo in the soul who possesses it, and in its very arms it brings her where my volition itself calls her. And since she has her rights given by me, if she loves, all created things say love. If she adores, they say adoration. If she thanks, they say thanksgivings. In a way that one sees hovering in the sky, in the sun, in the sea, in the wind, in everything, even in the little bird that sings, the love, the adoration, the thanksgiving of the creature who possesses my divine will. How vast is the love and everything that she can do and say. The heavens and earth are in her power. But this is nothing yet. You must know that for the soul who possesses my divine will, its divine omnipotence and true power enter into her work. It means diffusing herself in everything and everyone, to recall everything into that act. With her empire, she makes herself heard by everyone, to call the attention of everyone in a way that they feel the operating power of my fiat in the act of the creature, because I can call it not her act, but mine. And who finds themselves in possession of it, such as the angels, saints, and creation, feel a vein of its power flow, and they place themselves all at attention in order to receive it. And bowing, they adore, they thank, and they love the operating divine will. One act of it is the greatest, most beautiful thing for all of heaven and for all the earth. One act of it, since it possesses complete power, as much, if it works in the human act as by itself, can bring innovation, transformation over everything, and makes rise again new things that did not exist before. So one act in my divine will takes place in the divine order, and with its powerful empire, it rules over all. It rules with its enticing love, with its enrapturing beauty, with its infinite joys and sweetnesses. It is an act that encloses everything all together, and those who do not feel the beauty of it are constrained to feel the weight of the divine justice over them. But all will feel the touch of the power of the one act of my will. No one will be excluded. And only these acts line up in continuous homage around God himself, because those that give more glory to God and continuous homage are the acts done in the fiat, since they are acts reproduced by God himself, and they take part in his incessant act. After this, I was doing my acts in the divine volition, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, the soul who lives in my will is in the continuous act of being reborn in the acts that she does in it. If she loves, she is in the continuous act of being reborn in divine love, and while being born, it forms the life of love in her. And as life, it takes the primacy in all her being, such that her heartbeat, her breath, motion, glance, step, will, and all the rest become love. And however many times she is reborn, so many more times love grows. This love as life, and in the act of always being born and growing, has the enrapturing and wounding strength that while it wounds us, it enraptures us, but with our same divine power. And we, feeling ourselves wounded, pour forth love from our wounds, and we wound our beloved creature. And in every rebirth, we double our love to her. So if she repairs, as many times as she repairs in our will, so many times she is born in divine reparation and forms the life of reparation in her soul, so such that the breath, the motion, the will, and all her being acquires the life of reparation. And since it is not with one act alone that she repairs us, but with an entire life, as life she holds the disarming power. Disarming us, she converts the scourges into graces, so on with all the rest that the creature can do in our divine will. They are lives that she acquires, that are nourished by our divine sources. So if in our divine will she praises us, thanks us, blesses us, she forms an entire life of thanksgivings, of praises, and of blessings toward her Creator. And every time she does this, while she is reborn in these acts and grows, she forms the fullness of life in a way that the breath, the heartbeat, if she thinks, if she speaks, if she moves her step, if the blood circulates in her veins, in the whole entirety of the creature, there is no particle of her being that does not say, I thank you, I praise you, I bless you. Oh, how beautiful it is to see her possessing as many lives, or however many times she is reborn in her same acts done in our divine fiat. Because for however many lives she possesses, we feel in her heartbeat as many heartbeats in one, as many breaths, motions, and steps in one. And of each one, some say love, some reparation, some thanksgiving, some praise, and some blessing. These rebirths and lives form the most beautiful harmony in the fortunate creature who had the good of acquiring them. So much is our pleasure that our gaze is always fixed in looking at her, our ears always intent in listening to her. The power of our will calls our continuous attention, and as she tells us, I love you, so we repeat to her, we love you, O daughter. As she repairs us, we clasp her to our heart. As she thanks us, praises us, and blesses us, so we repeat to her, we thank you because she thanked us. We praise you because she praised us. We bless you because she blessed us. We can say that we place ourselves in a contest with her. The heavens and earth are astonished that the Creator places himself in contest with his beloved creature. Therefore, I want you always in my will, because in it you give us something to do and something to say, and you form our outlet of love. End of the reading.